I hid myself my entire life, who I really was. I mean, right down to the morning after the games in 1976. I walked into the bathroom. The gold medal was sitting there on the counter. And I put the medal on, the full-length mirror, looked in the mirror, and just says, what the hell did I just do? Did I build this character up so big that I'm stuck with him for the rest of my life? You know? Wow. Not that I have any regrets for anything I've done in my life, but that was like my first reaction, that now this character is so big and there's so much more to me than that performance. So proud of the performance. You know, so proud that I walked away probably the most satisfied athlete in the world at that time, because I accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish.
And you saying, is that the moment when, because what I'm curious about is when the moment you decided to make the change.
Well, that was many years later.
Yeah, so you're saying when you're the biggest, most popular athlete in the world, right?
Right.
You're on top of the world at that point, but you're still having these feelings?
Oh my God, yes, I've had him since I was in, a little kid.
But no part of you was like, wow, I just fucking won the decathlon. I'm the biggest person in the world.
But it's not me. It's not all me.
Yeah.
That is a part of me.
Right.
Okay? No, when you're trans, I've had those since I was just a child, confusion with that. But I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and there wasn't even a name for it. You just think, oh, why, So what do? You just hide it. But here's the deal. Many years later, you look back on that performance and you see, and I look at it now and I go, my God, why did I do that? Or how did I do that? And so you look, and there's more to just going down there and competing. There's why I spent 12 years of my life, the last 6 years leading up to the games, totally obsessed every day with this thing called sports. I lived it, I breathed it. I lived in a $145 a month apartment. I had a 1963 VW Bug that I drove. That cost me $175. I lived on nothing, $10,000 a year probably. And I trained 6 to 8 hours a day, every day, working at it, training at it, so dedicated to what I was doing. And I look back on it, I said, why did I do that? And I started looking back and starting to think of why people do things like that, extraordinary things. Mm-hmm. There's got to be something in their life. It's not just one thing. It's got to be something in your life that kind of drove you to that. I was a dyslexic kid. I didn't do very well in school. Me, perceptually, just picking up words off a piece of paper, just was tough. And when you're young, you're in, second, third, fourth, fifth grade. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's tough. My biggest fear in life was to go to school because I was afraid the teacher was going to make me read in front of the class. And then not only did I get so scared that everybody was going to know that I had the problem, I just got emotionally upset. I would sit there worried to death that was going to happen because nobody knew I had the problem. It's not like I had a big wart on the side of my face. And, So when I found sports in fifth grade, literally in gym class one day, and at Washington Irving Junior High School in Tarrytown, New York, in the back parking lot, the coach during gym class had set up chairs around the parking lot, and you had to go down there and run around the chairs and come back and get time. They were going to time every kid in school. And so, my turn, this is like fun, but, I'm always in the slower classes and this and that. So anyway, I put my foot on the line and I'm going to run as hard as I can. And I take off, run around, wound up having the fastest time in the whole school. Mm. And it was like, that was the first time in school that I ever accomplished anything. And it was running around a bunch of chairs. But it was so important. It meant so much to me, It meant so much to me that I could do something better than everybody else in school. So I thought, what is this thing called sports? I like this.
You were a tremendous athlete.
Yeah, and
one of the best of all time.
Go on a football field. Go
Yeah.
on a football field and take a guy who's a good student, good reader, and bam, clean his clock. Yeah, this is good stuff. I like this, you know?
Right.
And so that's how I kind of got into sports. Never, ever in a million years thinking I would go as far as I did. But there was also this little gender dysphoric kid in the back of my head also who has to prove your masculinity. You prove that like, hey, this is, I got to do this. So that combination, along with some talent, I was not, you know, I won the title as the greatest athlete in the world, but I never thought of myself as the most talented athlete out there.
Right. It's gotta be hard.
I
too.
was,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was the hardest working one out there. I outtrained him. I took my, the one thing after the games was over with that I took away that it was my greatest victory was I went into the games. If I had a perfect score in all 10 events, I scored 8,000, ran like the perfect decathlon. I ran 8,678 points. I went to the games. I scored 8,634 points under Olympic conditions, you know, really tough conditions that you're under. I was as close to perfect as I could be. And why? Because that's my head. You know, that I did all the preparation physically, but I found out later on in life, thinking I was always in the slower classes, dyslexic, and everybody else is smarter than me, that my greatest asset was my head. And honestly, if I had not been dyslexic, if I had not been gender dysphoric, if I didn't have all these issues as a young kid, I look back and I said, what if I was just average? You know, I was an average student, kind of in the middle of the class and this and that. I don't think I would have needed sports, and it wouldn't have been that important to me. And I probably never would have really gotten involved, certainly to the level that I was. But because of the one thing that I thought was the hardest part of my life wound up being my greatest asset. You know, it pushed me harder than anybody.